Right now, inside your brain, something is either building or breaking down. Not next year, not when you're 80, right now, today. And the terrifying part is that by the time most people notice the first signs, the forgotten names, the foggy thinking, the moments that don't quite make sense, the damage has already been developing for 10, sometimes 20 years. That is not an exaggeration. That is what science actually shows. Dementia doesn't arrive suddenly. It builds. Slowly, silently, invisibly, long before you ever walk into a doctor's office. And here's what nobody is telling you. Most of that damage is not inevitable. It is not simply getting older. It is the downstream result of processes that you can actually influence starting today, with habits that cost nothing and take minutes. I know that sounds almost too simple, but I'm going to show you exactly why it's true. My name is Dr. Miles. I work in emergency medicine, and I've spent 13 years watching what happens when preventable disease isn't prevented. The patients I see with strokes, with vascular damage, with the early signs of cognitive decline, they didn't arrive at that point overnight. Their bodies had been sending signals for years. The markers were there. The window to act was wide open. And most of them had no idea. My entire reason for being here is to close that gap, to give you the information that should be reaching you decades earlier, so you never have to become one of those patients. So today, I'm going to walk you through 4 habits, small, cheap, unglamorous, that have surprisingly powerful science behind them for protecting your brain against dementia. And I'll tell you exactly why each one works, because understanding the mechanism is what makes you actually do it. Why small habits can have massive effects. Before we get to the 4 habits, you need to understand something important, because it makes everything else make sense. Dementia doesn't have one single cause. It's the end result of several underlying processes that have been quietly running in the background for years. 4 of them stand out above everything else. First, the health of your blood vessels. Your brain consumes more oxygen than almost any other organ. If those vessels narrow, stiffen, or get damaged, your brain slowly starves. Second, insulin resistance and blood sugar chaos. This one is so strongly linked to Alzheimer's that researchers now refer to Alzheimer's as type 3 diabetes. When your brain cells stop responding to insulin properly, they get cut off from fuel. They begin to fail. Third, chronic low-grade inflammation. Not the kind you feel, a slow, smoldering fire running through your entire body, damaging blood vessels, accelerating aging, destroying the very architecture of your brain over decades. Fourth, your overall cardiovascular fitness, which determines how well your brain is supplied with oxygen and nutrients across your entire lifetime. Keep those 4 in mind, because every single habit I'm about to share works directly on one or more of them. Hack number 1, move your body in short, sharp bursts every day. This first one, most people completely overlook, and it might be the simplest thing on this list. Here's something that has been bothering me for years. We are told that to stay healthy, we need the gym, we need structured workouts, we need 45-minute cardio sessions. And for most people with jobs and families and real lives, that just doesn't happen consistently. But the research on something called VILPA, vigorous intermittent lifestyle physical activity, is genuinely remarkable. These are short, hard bursts of effort. 30 seconds, 1 minute, woven into your normal day. Taking the stairs fast, walking briskly between rooms, a quick set of squats before you sit back down. A study published in Nature Medicine tracked over 25,000 people who did no formal exercise. Those who did just 3 to 4 short bursts of vigorous activity per day, less than 2 minutes total, had a significantly lower risk of cardiovascular events and early death compared to those who didn't. 2 minutes total per day. Now here is why this matters so specifically for your brain. Your brain is the most oxygen-hungry organ in your body. Anything that improves cardiovascular fitness improves how consistently and generously your brain gets supplied. It keeps the smallest vessels inside your brain flexible and open. It slows the gradual stiffening and narrowing that eventually shows up as cognitive decline. On top of that, short bursts of intensity dramatically sharpen your insulin sensitivity, which feeds directly into that second driver we talked about, the blood sugar and Alzheimer's connection. So just a few flights of stairs taken hard, or a fast walk to the end of the street and back is quietly working on 2 of the 4 major brain risk processes simultaneously. Every single day. Without a gym membership. Start with 1 burst tomorrow morning. That's it. Hack number 2. Eat a small handful of nuts every single day. I want to be honest with you about this one, because if a pharmaceutical company had produced the results that some of the nut and Mediterranean diet research has shown, it would have been headline news worldwide. But because it's just food boring, unglamorous, not something you can patent or sell at a premium, the message gets drowned out. And that is a real problem. The strongest evidence here comes from a landmark clinical trial called Predimed, one of the largest dietary intervention studies ever conducted. Thousands of older adults, randomized, gold standard research. One group followed a Mediterranean diet, supplemented with a daily handful of mixed nuts. The results were so significant, the trial was actually stopped early because the benefits were already so clear. And critically, follow-up analysis showed the nut group also performed significantly better on cognitive testing compared to the control group. A handful of nuts, every day, protecting the brain. The reason is elegant. Nuts hit 3 of our 4 brain risk processes at once. They improve the health of your blood vessels and cholesterol profile. They calm chronic inflammation. They support blood sugar stability and push back directly against the insulin resistance pathway so strongly linked to Alzheimer's. Walnuts deserve a specific mention. They are exceptionally rich in a plant-based omega-3 fat that has been directly linked to brain cell health, alongside antioxidants that defend against the slow oxidative damage that accumulates in brain tissue with age. I have a sweet tooth. I won't pretend otherwise. But I've found that when a craving hits, a handful of nuts kills it within seconds. Because nuts deliver dense fat, protein, and fiber all at once. The combination that actually signals to your brain that real fuel has arrived, unlike sugar, which spikes you and leaves you hungrier 40 minutes later. Get a bag of mixed nuts. Put them in your kitchen right now. That is the entire implementation plan for Habit 2. Really quickly, if you're getting value from this video and you're not already subscribed, I genuinely love it if you hit that button. It costs you nothing. It takes 2 seconds, and it helps this channel reach more people who need this information. I put a lot of work into making these videos as useful and as honest as I possibly can, grounded in real science, not sponsored products or supplement stacks. All I ask is your support in return. Okay, back to the habits. Hack number 3. Walk for 5 to 10 minutes after every meal. This one is so effective, so accessible, and so completely ignored by mainstream health advice that honestly, it frustrates me. Here's what happens inside your body every time you eat. Carbohydrates are broken down into glucose, which floods your bloodstream. Your pancreas releases insulin to drive that glucose level down. So far, so normal. The modern problem is that we eat large, fast-releasing meals and then sit down at a desk or on a sofa for the next 3 hours. The result is a sharp, prolonged spike in both blood sugar and insulin. Repeat that 3 times a day, every day, for years, and you slowly grind your way towards insulin resistance and everything that comes with it. Heart disease, liver disease, kidney disease, and yes, brain disease. Because that same metabolic environment where cells stop responding properly to insulin appears to develop inside the brain itself. It starves brain cells of fuel. It accelerates the changes we see in Alzheimer's. This is why so many researchers now call Alzheimer's type 3 diabetes. But here is the shortcut that almost nobody uses. When your muscles contract even gently, even just walking, they can pull glucose directly out of your bloodstream and burn it as fuel without needing insulin at all. It's a completely separate pathway. A study published in Diabetes Care showed that 3 15-minute walks after meals reduced 24-hour blood glucose levels more effectively than a single 45-minute walk taken at another point in the day. Timing matters. Post-meal movement is metabolic armor. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, even a gentle walk around the block after lunch and dinner is enough to dramatically blunt that glucose spike, protecting your blood vessels, reducing insulin demand, and lowering the chronic metabolic stress that builds up in the brain over a lifetime. This is free. It works immediately. It works for the rest of your life. Hack number 4. Brush and floss your teeth properly, twice a day. I know. You did not expect to find dental hygiene on a dementia prevention list. The first time I came across this in the research, I assumed I'd misread it. I went back and checked. Then I checked again. But the evidence has now built up to a point where it genuinely cannot be ignored. Multiple large systematic reviews have found that people with significant gum disease carry a meaningfully higher risk of cognitive decline and Alzheimer's disease later in life. How? How does what's happening in your mouth affect what's happening in your brain? The answer comes back to that third driver, chronic inflammation. Gum disease is not just a local problem confined to your mouth. Inflamed gums release inflammatory signals and bacteria into your bloodstream every time you eat, every time you brush, every time you swallow. That creates a constant, low-grade inflammatory burden running through your entire body, including the delicate blood vessels that feed your brain. And it goes further than that. There is a specific bacteria associated with gum disease called Porphyromonas gingivalis. And researchers have now found traces of it, along with the toxins it produces, in the brains of people who died from Alzheimer's disease. The exact causal pathway is still being studied, and I want to be careful not to overstate it. Association is not the same as proof. But the signal is consistent enough that oral health is now being taken seriously as part of brain health prevention. And here's the extraordinary part. Proper brushing and flossing takes 3 or 4 minutes, twice a day. That is it. It costs almost nothing, and it measurably reduces gum inflammation within days to weeks. It might sound too simple to matter, but that is exactly the point of everything in this video. Here's what genuinely bothers me about all of this. None of these 4 habits are new. The research behind them has been building for years. And yet most people are never told about them, not clearly, not early, not in a way that makes them actually act. Our healthcare system is extraordinary at treating crises. It is genuinely poor at preventing them. A stroke arrives, and we respond brilliantly. But the 15 years of silent vascular damage that led to it, that goes unaddressed, untaught, unmentioned, which means that if prevention is going to happen, a very large part of it has to come from you. You cannot wait for the system to protect your brain. You have to decide to do it yourself. And the beautiful, genuinely hopeful thing is you can, starting today, with 4 habits that cost nothing and take minutes. Let me bring this together. The stairs, or short bursts of effort, build the cardiovascular fitness that keeps your brain generously supplied with oxygen across decades. The handful of nuts every day delivers the fats, fiber, and protective compounds that calm inflammation and protect your blood vessels. The short walk after meals attacks the insulin resistance and blood sugar chaos that drives so much of modern disease, including in the brain. The brushing and flossing dampens down the chronic background inflammation that travels silently from your mouth to everywhere else. Each one of these on its own is a small nudge, but together, stacked every single day, over years, you are working on all 4 major drivers of dementia simultaneously. This is not inevitable. Your brain has a remarkable capacity to respond to the right conditions. The science on neuroplasticity, on the brain's ability to adapt, grow, and resist decline, is one of the most genuinely exciting areas in all of medicine right now. The version of you that is still sharp, still independent, still fully yourself, at 80, that version is being built or broken right now. In habits so small, you might barely notice them. Pick one of these 4 today. Just one. Build it this week. Add another next month. You have far more control over this than you've been led to believe. And that, genuinely, is the whole point. If you found this useful, please share it with someone you care about, because this is exactly the kind of information that should be reaching people decades earlier than it usually does. And subscribe if you haven't already. There is a lot more where this came from. I'm Dr. Miles. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.